As we get older, the emphasis on protein is all the more important so that we stay strong, build muscle. And with that, we want to think about the things that would be considered like an anti-inflammatory diet.
Have you made it past menopause, or are you going through it now? I'm Dr. Pat McShane, and on the Women's Health Span Voices podcast, I'll guide you through the health challenges of the menopausal years and beyond, guiding the way to thriving in this powerful era of your womanhood. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Women's Health Span Voices. And we have a very significant voice today that is of bone health. And the person who will be talking to us about that is Kathy Basel. And she is a session trainer at a studio called OsteoStrong, which is a novel way of approaching bone health, specifically for menopausal women, but also for women and men at other stages of their life who are having issues with their bone health. So, welcome, Kathy. So great to have you with us today. And just a little disclosure, I go to OsteoStrong myself, and Kathy has been one of my trainers. So, Kathy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and then maybe a little bit about how you got into OsteoStrong?
Yeah. So I'm a certified holistic wellness coach. So I see the body as a whole function, and that's mind, body, and spirit from my perspective. My background, I used to do triathlon, and I really got fascinated by the body's ability to heal naturally when we nourish it properly. So I created a company called the Vitality Code. And really, it's really for us to focus not just on attaining health, but we should be thriving. Our bodies can really heal from all kinds of things when we give it the proper support and environment to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so you, along the way, encountered Tony
Yeah.
Robbins'
Yeah.
advocacy for OsteoStrong.
Yeah. So I became a Tony Robbins coach also. I'm fascinated with women's empowerment of all sorts. And he was an advocate for this. And as a holistic wellness coach, I take care of myself. And I realized when I heard about the concept, I was like, wow, I haven't had a DEXA scan. So they were that was part of their promotion when they were opening here locally. So I went to check it out and I was amazed. Thankfully, my bones are really great. But when I started seeing some of the other benefits that I was getting from OsteoStrong, I just started working out there myself.
So tell us a little bit about OsteoStrong, and then we'll double back and talk about the more conventional approaches to bone health.
Yeah. And I want to start by the distinction. So this is one of the few opportunities for women to alternatives, I would say, to a pharmaceutical approach to helping women strengthen bones. So this would be kind of a physical, like biomechanical way of helping the body to create bone. So essentially what it is, it looks like four different pieces of equipment that looks like something you'd see in a gym, but it's very specifically designed so that you're in positions that put a lot of weight on certain bone groups at a time. So what this was founded in 2012 by John Jakwich and Kyle. I can never say his name. Sorry, Kyle. But they created this. Actually, Dr. John's mom had osteoporosis and was not a good candidate. She didn't want to go this pharmaceutical route. So he did studies and recognized that the people with the strongest bones, athletes of all sorts, were the gymnasts. And they recognized that it was actually the impact and the stress that they were putting on the bones that was supporting the body. So we all are remodeling bones all the time. And they recognized that it was actually the impact and the stress that we're putting on the bones in a very specific way that was encouraging the osteoblast to come in and remodel the bone. So our bodies are regenerating all the different functions all the time, bone among them. And that was one of the surprising things when I started at OsteoStrong because I just thought of bone as kind of like like a hard thing, like a scaffold or something for the rest of the body. But actually to learn what a living, breathing, active participant in it is in like the endocrine system and the metabolic process in in our bodies, it was pretty fascinating. And so what they've done is these four sets of gym equipments, you're there with a coach and it's very contained. So you're putting the pressure on yourself, so it's very safe, and we're putting intense amounts of pressure on specific sets of bones so that we can regenerate. And you just go once a week. So it's pretty magical.
Yeah, the osteoblasts work for up to 10 days is a good thing, so you don't have to go in very often. And the stress is very short in duration. It's just a few seconds. So again, the entire panel of the four instruments takes 5 or 10 minutes with good coaching from you guys about exactly where our spine and our extremities and so on should be, and feedback on the panel, you can see how much force you're exerting, whether you're hitting that 4 times your body weight. When I learned that gymnastics and powerlifting were the two things that improved your body, your bone strength, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to take up either one of those
That's right.
in my 70s. So OsteoStrong seemed like a good option for me with osteopenia.
You touched on a good number there because people will ask commonly, can I just go to the gym and replicate this kind of thing? The One of the biggest areas where people, women especially, have osteoporosis is going to be in the hips, so the femoral neck and the sacrum there, and that's really kind of like the metabolic engine, if you will, for the bones and part of that process. We're generating our target for the least minimal effort that we're looking to attain is 4.2 multiples of your body weight. So, for instance, a 140-pound woman would have to generate just short of 600 pounds. And that's a minimum dose. So, it's so cool. The women are very empowered. They come in, a lot of them are in their 70s, but certainly we've got women of all ages because it can happen anytime depending on what's going on in your body. But to see them, easily getting up to, 800, 1,000 pounds. I do well over that because I'm a little younger, but just how much that influences not just the bones, but we're strengthening muscle at the same time. And with that muscle comes other benefits like the insulin sensitivity starts to regulate, and just the positive that we talk about the side effects of when you take a drug. It's like we've got side effects, but it's all like strength and balance. Some of the unsung heroes that as we age, it's really, really important because if you tip over and break a bone, the mortality rate is 22% of the women in their older age. If they were to break a bone like that, a hip, it's about 22%. So oftentimes, when you hear someone, mom fell over and broke her hip, everyone's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah. Or often mom's hip broke and then she fell. That's the other piece. It's not necessarily a fall over an obstacle or a curb or something like that. Sometimes it's just the hip that goes and then the woman or the man will fall. So
Yeah, she might not know that she's got osteoporosis or osteopenia, weak bones to begin with, and then, like you said, it's broken and you're not even aware of it. So
yeah. Yeah.
super good.
Tell us about a couple of anecdotes, maybe from people you've worked with in your studio who have had some good results.
We get a lot of them.
I
um,
know, hard
you
to
know,
pick. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm gonna get a little teary here because I think everyone is kind of because it's not uncommon for us to see big gains in their bone strength and to get double digits and just see some of these women regain their confidence. They're not afraid. Not that you don't you don't want to fall, but the confidence of like them walking in and they'll tell me that they fell off the back stoop or something like that, and they come in and they're like, you know, I didn't break. So that sense of anti-fragility. I mean, we want to talk about vitality as we post menopause. It's just kind of fascinating all the things that happen to us. And so, we're losing certainly bone density is one of the things, but that muscle strength too. So balance, a different focus. We need to understand strength so that if you do tip over, muscles are actually going to help protect your body, help you get back up, those kinds of things. But balance is so essential too for us to focus on because it's easy for us as we age to get a little weaker and not have that strength. And actually, we were talking about the studies that came out about grip strength and how they're seeing the relation to longevity.
Yes, yes. And in fact, you all test grip strength in at OsteoStrong on a periodic basis and give us feedback.
Yeah. And one of the other things, so this is a good measure for your listeners. One of the other things, so grip strength, are you having problems opening jars, that's start to be a concern. One of the other ones is we'll have people do a sit to stand test. So stand in front of a chair, put with your arms here, and just see how quickly you can sit down and stand up. That's another wonderful test as you age, just to see how you're doing. Are you
Yes.
strong? Are you balanced when you're doing that? And there's a certain mobility. I think that's really essential as we stay safe and vibrant in these days.
I think people with osteopenia and osteoporosis tend to limit what they do, knowing that they are at higher risk for falls and hip fractures, other fractures as well. So I'm sure for a lot of your clients, knowing that their bone density has gone up, or at least that they're doing everything that they can do, is a key to more mobility for people and more confidence, better
Yeah.
lifestyle. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And we've had younger people who've come in who've had more like athletes who've had some kind of rock climbing accidents and breaking all kinds of bones, and to come there and watch them get stronger. It's kind of fascinating when you think about bones. We peak at age 30 and start naturally losing, you know, we're, we're losing more bone than we're building at that point in time. And then to see when you hit menopause that the level of estrogen actually has the body begin to not build as fast as it once was. So we're losing every year anyways. So you want to start mm, paying attention to this because it really does affect your ability. We talk about lifespan, and you and I were talking about health span there, because we don't
Uh-huh.
want to just live to be 100. You want to be able to, be on the floor playing with the kids and picking up their backpacks.
And in your case, mountain biking, my case,
Yeah.
skiing. Yeah, yeah. We're not gonna neglect the other things that are good for bone health. Obviously, smoking is very bad for bone health. So if any of our listeners are struggling to quit smoking, I encourage you, keep trying. Even, reducing is a good start. And calcium intake, vitamin D, and estrogen at the time of the menopausal transition has been shown to improve bone health overall as well. And I'm not sure that we really know about taking estrogen later in our menopausal lives. There hasn't been a lot of research about whether that's a good thing to do or not. There are also anti-resorptive drugs that are helpful for many, many people, and that's the pharmacologic alternative. That's the option that most of us would be given in a physician's office if we came in with low bone density on our scans, on our DEXA scan. Let's see just a good diet in general has been shown to improve bone health. So there's many, many,
Just
many
a good
aspects.
functional nutrition approach. As we get older, the emphasis on protein is all the more important so that we stay strong, build muscle. And with that, we want to think about the things that would be considered like an anti-inflammatory diet. So whole foods, limiting the sugars, lots of fruits, vegetables, good proteins, that kind of thing. But the things that moderate our like blood sugar levels and anti-inflammation, those kinds of things are going to be the same things that will create a system that's going to be supportive of your body naturally being able to regenerate the bone. But I think it's important, if you see that you're on the lower end of the spectrum there, to do something additional to bring that up, because bone takes a long time to remodel. It takes about 3 to 6 months for changes at OsteoStrong to become evident, and if that's with us doing something. So if you definitely want to do that. But the biggest positive influences that we see, like you said, the nutrition, but there's also like our group has coupled with algae cal, which is a natural occurring calcium that's from algae, which is absorbed at a high frequency. At it's more absorbable than a lot of the calciums, which oftentimes can be a problem. So it's not necessarily calcium deficiency, but sometimes when you couple it with something like this, with it's coupled with strontium that helps it be absorbed. So look for natural alternatives like that, and can help you sort that out.
That's good advice. Are there any contraindications? Any people who shouldn't do OsteoStrong?
Yeah, there's people with MS, other skeletal kind of um, or those kinds of issues would be one. I'm trying to think of another. There's not very many. I mean, we've got people who come in after having knee replacements, all those kinds of things, and it's really we meet you where you are. So we're going to start there
Spine
and begin to
spine
build.
surgery, neck surgery, that
Yeah,
is not a problem.
and but good mention on the neck. So, one of the other things as we age is the tendency, hello, to start hunching over, right? And posture is another one of those things that's positively impacted here because we're having you get into a proper position, and it's really cool because the muscles and the bones, the muscle won't outgrow the strength of the bone. So as you grow the bone strength, then you're able to put on more muscle. But that's one of the things. Like if you've got like me, I used to do triathlon and so kind of blew out the knees. There's not a whole lot of cartilage left in there. But as you strengthen, we're putting that targeted pressure on those joints, the entire section. But what happens is that all the muscle, the cartilage, like everything supporting the knee is actually getting strengthened at the same time. So my knees feel better than they have in years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
good to hear, yeah.
Yeah.
We are on vibration plates at the beginning of the OsteoStrong session and at the end as well. Could you just say a word about that?
Yeah, yeah, they're finding, more science is coming out about the vibe plates, and, they have different ranges, and the vibration actually is stimulating for me, I think of it, we do it 2 minutes before and 2 minutes at the end of the session, and at the beginning, it's waking up your nervous system, it's kind of like loosening up your muscles so that you're ready to receive the good input, the stimulus that we're about to give you, and then at the end, I kinda think of it like the super glue. But again, but the benefits of a vibe plate, it helps everything from circulation to flexibility to with strength. Like you can just stretch or you can work on balance while you're standing there. And it's got all kinds of positive things.
Uh-huh. So we should all run out and buy one, or we have to be very sensible about the specifications of the piece of equipment?
Yeah, I think I tend to you can get them for as cheap as, a couple $100 and
Mhm.
up, but, trying to think doctor is it Furman? There's another fellow, but a lot of the functional medicine doctors are really promoting the Viplay right about now because of all the different, um, benefits that it
Mhm.
has.
It's fun, it feels good, I know that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It does kind of wake up your body. Maybe it's the transition from, driving to the studio and doing the exercises,
Yeah,
so,
and I mean,
yeah.
even when you think about the capillaries and everything as we get older, they get a little tired, so the vasoconstriction on the ends of your you know, arms, legs, it gets a little weaker over time. And so when you do something like that, it kind of stimulates the circulation and you kind of feel alive. Like there's blood, there's detoxification that's happening. The lymph system's moving stuff out of there, old poop, and get that all cleaned out. And you feel when people walk out of the session, and just like you said, I mean, you can be in and out in 15 minutes, and you definitely see an extra little hip in their hop when they're walking out.
One thing I want to say is that the National Institute of Health did a review on OsteoStrong, and the studies are the scientifically based studies, the evidence based studies are kind of all over the map. They're mostly smaller numbers, not all looking at the same things. So I wouldn't say that this is a unequivocally proven approach, but again, with anecdotally, and it may work for some people and not for others, is like most clinical interventions, one size may not fit all, but for some people, it seems in your experience and what
Yeah,
I've
I
read
would say if it's not
to work.
working, if we don't work for them, it's because there's other imbalances in like the endocrine system, which is a good bit of information to have,
Hmm.
right? So you definitely, want to work in partnership with your doctors and get thyroid and all of those other, hormone and organs kind of tuned up and online so that you get the best possible results. But the nice thing is that there's a natural alternative because the pharmaceutical approach can have some pretty challenging side effects. And
Yes, yes, and it's not for everyone. Side effects notwithstanding, some people just would prefer to try something. The problem is you don't really see the results for 6 months, as you mentioned. That's the soonest, and I think really more often a year is what's recommended to see changes in bone density. But
yeah,
maybe
that's
I'm
why I think it's important to get tested early. I think we wait a little too late for the bone stuff because it's going to take a while to reverse any pattern that might be happening.
hmm.
And so, if you can nip it in the bud, if you've got osteopenia, like go ahead and start getting diligent about it now. And
Hmm.
whatever approach you take, all the power to you. But don't wait. Don't wait 'cause if you're letting it go naturally, it's only going to go downhill.
That's good advice. We should have put that at the beginning of the of the talk and not at the end here, but hopefully we still have a good number of our listeners and viewers. So anything else, Kathy, that you would want us to know about our bone health or our muscle health or general strength here?
I think just the good word that it's never too late. So wherever you are, there's always positive steps that you can take in the right direction to begin to rebuild. And so giving your body the support it needs, the nutrition, the mind body girl, so positive emotions, surrounding yourself with beautiful people like you. It's all and just I would say keep asking questions and find the thing that works for you and your body.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's Kathy Basel, the wellness coach speaking,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
holistic wellness coach, not just the OsteoStrong trainer. Thank you for that. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk about this novel approach to our bone health, and you gave us tremendous amount of good information today. Thank you so much. And
Oh.
for our listeners and viewers, if this is the kind of information that you appreciate, please like and subscribe and tell your friends who many of whom are going to have bone issues if they don't have them already. So
Well, and I wanna
take good
thank you,
care.
Dr. Pat, because there's just like you said, I think it's really up to us because I don't feel like a lot of this information, and I'm talking about all the kinds of things that you're speaking on, it's not necessarily easily found. So, I appreciate,
Yeah.
it's really a special time, in our lifespan and our health span, so
Yeah.
much more is possible, and I just really applaud you for giving a voice to us postmenopausal women to step up and, get in there. Thank you.
Take charge and be well as long as we possibly can. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Take care now. Thanks for listening to the Women's Health Span Voices podcast. If today's episode spoke to you, follow the show and share it with a friend ready to take charge of her health. And please leave a review. It helps more women find us.